She stood at the head of the table, glass raised, eyes gleaming, surrounded by her polished little circle of friends. And with a voice soaked in champagne confidence, she said, "Some people just aren't built for class. You can spot them by the way they dress, how they speak, how they order their eggs." Laughter. Thin, forced, but real enough to sting. I sat there, smiling tightly, my name never mentioned, but every word aimed directly at me. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the wine she was swirling so smugly in her glass. I paid for it. And not just the wine. Her entire salary, her team's budget, the office she pranced around like she owned. I was the reason she had a job to toast from in the first place. And in a few days, I'd remind her of that, publicly. Power doesn't always enter the room loud. Sometimes it walks in quietly in flats, no designer labels, no need to announce itself. Just presence. But that's not the kind of power people like Sasha recognize. My name's Maya. I'm 33 years. CEO of a mid-sized tech company no one brags about on Twitter, but we're solvent, scaling, and we just acquired our third startup this quarter. I'm used to being overlooked and honestly, I let them. I stopped needing to be seen by people like that a long time ago. My parents raised me on grit, not glam. We grew up in a one-bedroom apartment over a laundromat, and I shared a bed with my sister until I was 16. I didn't touch a passport until I was 24, and even then, I flew coach and ate peanuts. Still do, when I can help it. So when I met Aaron, Ivy League educated, second-generation wealth, soft-spoken in the way only people who've never had to shout to be heard are, I was surprised at how easy he was to talk to. He was different, I thought. We'd been dating for about 4 months when he invited me to brunch with his college crew. "It's just a few close friends," he said. "You'll love them." I didn't. It was a rooftop spot in Midtown, with skyline views and drink menus that read like short novels. Everyone there seemed to know exactly where to sit, what to say, how to laugh, just the right amount. I could feel the unspoken social rules hang in the air like perfume, wear the right labels, speak the right buzzwords, and never let your glass go empty. I was fine being the outsider. I've been the only one like me in a room my entire life. But there was something about this group that didn't just see me as different. They saw me as less. And then there was Sasha. She made herself known with the kind of confidence born from never being questioned. Platinum blonde, skin like money and Botox, talking like the world had been waiting to hear her every thought. The kind of woman who introduces herself by telling you who she knows, not who she is. "Marketing director," she said, with a little hair flip. "Just merged with a new parent company, actually. Big tech money. Trying to stay humble." I sipped my coffee and said nothing. She didn't realize that big tech money was me. She clocked me in the first 30 seconds, took in my dress, my tone, the fact that I wasn't fawning over her Prada clutch, and decided I didn't belong. That I was someone to perform superiority for. The first jab came over mimosas. "So Maya," she purred. "What do you do?" "Something creative, I'm guessing?" "You have that natural vibe." Natural. A word that always carried too much meaning in rooms like this. "Tech," I said simply. "Operations." She blinked, unimpressed.
Oh.
"That's cute. I wish I understood how that stuff worked." I smiled.
Tight.
Polite. Tucked the anger under my tongue like I always do. She wasn't done. Later, when the waiter brought out eggs Benedict on gold-rimmed plates and everyone was a few glasses in, she leaned back and made the comment. The one that landed like a slap masked as sugar. "Honestly, I love how this city gives everyone a shot. Even people from simpler backgrounds can come up, you know? It's so inspiring." There was no mistaking it. Her eyes were on me. The pause before simpler was the giveaway. The way her lip curled just slightly, the faux earnest tone, the soft murmur of approval from the others, like they were too polite to laugh, but too cowardly to speak up. Aaron chuckled nervously, looked down at his napkin. I didn't say a word.
Not yet.
I just looked at her, took a sip of my champagne, and let the moment settle like sediment in the bottom of the glass. She didn't know who I was. Not yet. But she would. The moment I thought things might settle, Sasha lifted her glass. Her voice cut across the rooftop like a blade wrapped in velvet. "Let's raise a glass," she said, swaying slightly with mock elegance, "to social mobility. It's nice that some people get to leave behind their humble roots." A beat of silence. Then the laughter, uneven, awkward, but it happened. Aaron chuckled again, too softly to be funny, and didn't meet my eyes. No one said anything. Not one person. I stared at my drink, watching a bubble climb to the surface and pop. My chest burned, but my face stayed neutral, frozen, practiced. I've worn this mask before. The conversation moved on. But I didn't. I couldn't. Sasha's words sat in my chest like concrete, pressing against every version of me I'd ever had to claw through to become this one. I didn't say anything to Aaron on the ride home. I didn't need to. My silence was heavy enough. When I got back to my apartment, still modest, still rented despite my salary, I opened my laptop and pulled up the org chart. I'd almost forgotten the name of the startup we acquired 2 months ago. PLYNT, a sleek little digital marketing company with some promising IP and a bloated internal structure. Sasha had said she worked in marketing. I hadn't thought to check at Brunch. But there it was. Her photo. Her name. Sasha Whitmore. Senior Brand Strategy Lead. Reporting directly to a manager who now reported directly to my executive team. She was mine. She just didn't know it. I clicked into her internal records. Not to retaliate, just to understand who exactly I was dealing with. What I found made my stomach tighten. 3 quiet complaints to HR over the past year. All from junior staff. 2 women, 1 non-binary designer. Allegations of credit stealing, verbal condescension, bullying in Slack threads. 1 had left the company. The others had transferred to different departments. And tucked into 1 performance review, written by her former supervisor before the acquisition, a note. Struggles with team collaboration. Believes herself above feedback. Occasionally uses inappropriate humor in leadership settings. I scrolled further and found something that stopped me cold. An internal email thread. She had replied all to a product strategy update sent by my executive team. My name was on the email. She'd replied to a colleague. Ugh, more from the parent company. Can't wait for some Stanford MBA in a pantsuit to tell us how to build authentic brand energy. She didn't know. She didn't know the woman she had ridiculed at Brunch was the same one she mocked over email. I wasn't some distant investor. I was the woman who'd signed the merger. And now I was paying her salary. I didn't act right away. Revenge wasn't the point. Truth was. So I flagged her file, not as CEO, but through HR. An anonymous inquiry. A request for a department-wide feedback audit. Internal culture health check. I wanted to see how deep it ran. Within a week, more came to light. Misuse of department budgets. Small things that added up. Overpriced vendor contracts linked to her friend's side business. Thousands of dollars logged under brand research that had no receipts. She'd built her little kingdom off ego, fear, and other people's silence. And she thought she was untouchable. I didn't need to be loud to be powerful. I just needed to be thorough. I wish I could say Sasha's words at Brunch were the worst I'd ever heard. But they weren't. When I was 8, a teacher told me I should consider more realistic career goals than computer science. When I was 15, a girl in my advanced math class asked if I was there on a diversity grant. When I got my first internship, my supervisor asked if I was sure I was comfortable in corporate spaces. Every time I rose, someone tried to shrink me. So no, Sasha wasn't new. She was just the latest echo of every voice that ever told me I didn't belong. But now, for the first time, I was the one in control of the room. The conference room was already set when she walked in. Long glass table. 10 chairs. Sunlight pouring through high-rise windows. Her heels clicked too loudly on the polished floors. She was dressed to win, tight blazer, overcompensating smile. Probably thought this was about some team-building alignment or creative restructuring. She didn't recognize the executive calendar invite. Just saw a senior name she hadn't heard before, Maya Jameson, VP Operations, Parent Group HQ. And when she opened the door and saw me at the head of the table, flanked by two HR partners and her direct manager. The blood drained from her face like someone had pulled a plug. Her eyes flicked between me and the others, then landed hard on me. "You," she started, voice brittle, trying to rise to charm.
Oh,
"Wow, you clean up nice. I didn't know you worked with the, strategy vertical." I folded my hands calmly. My voice was steady.
cool.
"Professional. Nice to see you again, Sasha," I said. "Let's talk about your leadership style." She laughed, too high, too forced. Tried to sit casually, crossing one leg over the other, like this was still a networking brunch. "Okay, sure. I mean, yes, some feedback would be great. I've been asking for more face time with senior leadership. Honestly, so glad you're taking an interest in us little people." I smiled, but not with warmth. "Oh, I've been interested for a while." I didn't yell. I didn't grandstand. I opened her file and slid it across the table. "We'll begin with your internal feedback scores. You've received 5 separate reports in the last 6 months citing credit manipulation, verbal hostility, and retaliatory messaging to junior staff." She shifted in her chair. The smile faltered. I tapped the next tab. "Here's an invoice for $9,600 to a consulting agency owned by your college roommate. No approved vendor file. No deliverables submitted. Care to comment?" "That was cleared by procurement, I think," she stammered. "We needed outside eyes. It was strategic. Procurement said otherwise." Asterisk, I turned to the screen behind me, where I had a few items queued up. With one click, her email appeared, the one mocking this Stanford MBA in a pantsuit. "You remember this thread?" I asked. "I mean, it was a joke, just internal humor, team bonding, nothing serious." I clicked again, and the audio played. A brunch toast. The sound of laughter. Sasha's voice, unmistakable. "Let's raise a glass to social mobility. It's nice that some people get to leave behind their humble roots." The room fell silent. One of the HR partners looked down at her notepad, slowly scribbling a note. Sasha's face turned from pink to red to white. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her voice dropped almost to a whisper. "I didn't know who you were." I nodded slowly. "No," I said. "You didn't bother to. We didn't fire her."
Not yet.
That would have been too easy. Her title was stripped, effective immediately. Senior Brand Strategy, lead no more. Her salary was reduced. Her team reassigned. Her access restricted to mid-level permissions. All future approvals would need executive sign-off. But the real consequence? Her new assignment was under the department she used to dismiss as junior noise. The same interns she used to talk down to in meetings. The ones she ignored in Slack channels. They now had a say in evaluating her team conduct. I informed HR privately that Sasha would be reevaluated in 3 months, not by me, but by those same people she used to walk over on her way to the top. She'd have to stay and prove she could grow, or crumble where she stood. No more hiding behind brunches and buzzwords. No more laughing at people she thought were beneath her.
Now?
She'd have to listen. And the salary she was sipping mimosas on still came from my signature. Later that evening, he came over. I could already tell. His face was stiff, like someone bracing for a conversation they didn't want to have. He sat down on my couch, didn't touch the tea I offered. "You embarrassed her," he finally said. My hands went still on the mug in mine. "Did I?" I asked. "Or did I just stop pretending to be small enough for her comfort?" He looked uncomfortable, shuffled his feet. "I just think you kind of went overboard. I mean, she was rude, sure, but that was social. This was her job, her livelihood." I stared at him, slowly realizing that his discomfort wasn't with her behavior, it was with my response. My refusal to stay quiet. My refusal to smile through insult. "You were there," I said softly. "At brunch. You heard her." He sighed. "Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe she didn't mean it like that." There it was. That old, familiar justification. The same language I'd heard my whole life whenever someone wanted to excuse cruelty dressed in class.
"You're defending her," I said.
"Because deep down you agree with her. Not in words, but in how you look at people like me." People who weren't born into your circles.
He didn't argue.
Didn't deny it. Just looked away. I nodded slowly. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. I'm not angry, I said. But I've worked too hard to shrink myself just to make you or your friends comfortable. He opened his mouth, closed it, left quietly, taking his silence with him. And I didn't cry. Because I wasn't broken. I was finally whole. A week later, I parked 2 blocks from the corner store I used to walk to as a kid. The paint on the awning had peeled even more. The streets still cracked in the same places. But it was quiet, familiar. I walked the same path I used to take to school, shoes too tight, head held low, hoping no one would see the holes in my backpack. Back then, I didn't dream of boardrooms or brunches. I dreamed of being heard, being safe, being enough. When Sasha humiliated me, it didn't hurt because I forgot where I came from. It hurt because I remembered exactly. The way teachers would call on everyone but me. The way people would compliment my articulate speech like it was surprising. The way men would date me quietly, but introduce someone else to their parents. For years, I thought success would be the perfect clapback. That power would make me untouchable. But standing in that conference room, looking Sasha in the eye, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt calm.
Still.
Because I didn't need to destroy her to prove anything. I just needed her to see me clearly and know that I saw her too. I don't want revenge anymore. I want power that protects. I want girls like me to know they never have to beg for seats at tables they can build themselves. So no, I didn't embarrass her to get even. I did it to remind her. Respect is earned. But it's also a choice. She made hers at brunch. I made mine in that boardroom. And maybe you've been in my shoes, smiling through condescension, shrinking to fit someone else's comfort. Tell me, would you have exposed her like I did? Or would you have walked away in silence?